Alright, so here are the common tools that we're going to use. We're going to go over them one by one. Alright, so the first common tool that we're going to go over is the ratchet. So we have three kinds: 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and 1/2 inch. So the number in the front is referring to the size of the head. So a 1/4 inch is the smallest. And then we have 3/8 inch. And then finally the biggest one, 1/2 inch. Alright, so the different size heads, 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2, is going to allow you to put different size sockets. So these here is what we call sockets. It's what we're going to use to remove fasteners. So 1/4 inch sockets compared to a 3/8, you can see the hole is a lot bigger, and then for the 1/2 inch, it's going to be even bigger. So 1/4 inch sockets only go in on 1/4 inch ratchets, like so. So different ratchets come in different configuration. I suggest to buy one where they have an on-off switch. So on is when you're tightening something, and then off is when you're trying to loosen it. And also this one has a flexible head, like so. So they come in different configurations. There's many brands out there. So example with this one, there's no on-off switch, and it has no flexible head. So the on-off switch is handy because you don't have to do any guesswork. So on is going to be when you're tightening. So when you put the socket in, you're going to first go counterclockwise, and you're going to hear the ratcheting mechanism click, and then decide where the resistance is. It's going to be clockwise, and that's how you know you're going to be tightening a fastener. And then on the other hand, when you put it on off, you're going to hear the mechanism go clockwise, and then the resistance is going to come when you go counterclockwise, and that's how you're going to loosen any fastener. So on and off, pretty simple. And then the same thing with a 1/2 inch. They're a lot bigger, and they could take sockets that are a lot bigger. So for example, this is a 21 millimeter socket. Like so, and then this one you would have to, since there's no on-off switch, you would have to first put it on one side and then see where the resistance is. So the resistance is coming from the clockwise position, so that's how you know this is on, and then this should be off. Resistance is coming from the counterclockwise position. So as for this set of ratchet, this brand, they don't put the on-off, and they're reversed compared to this one over here. So the reason why we have three different sizes is the 1/4 inch ratchet is going to take the smallest socket sizes. So the one here is a 9 millimeter. And then as you go up in drive, so 3/8 drive, you can take bigger sockets. So this is a 12, and then 1/2 inch, this is a 21 millimeter. There's no point of having a 1/4 inch drive 21 millimeter. That doesn't make sense. So the bigger the socket, the bigger the ratchet you need, because bigger fasteners are going to require a lot more torque to break them free. So the range of sockets is probably going to be from 4 millimeter, all the way up to 13 in 1/4 inch, and then they'll overlap with the 3/8, so maybe 8 mil all the way up to 19 in 3/8. And then for 1/2 inch, you could go, smallest I've seen is probably 13 in 1/2 inch, and then all the way up to a 30 millimeter. So the different ratchets and different drives are going to be used for different applications. So say I'm working on really tiny bolts, I would use the 1/4 inch ratchet because it's not going to generate a lot of torque. I won't have to worry about breaking the bolts. And then for something that's tightened a bit more, I'll go with the 3/8 and then all the way up to 1/2 inch if I need to. Okay, now we're just gonna go over a quick example. So say we want to take off this bolt over here. After we've identified the fastener, we're gonna choose the correct size socket for it. Then put it on a ratchet. Switch it to off. Make sure the socket is sitting flush with the head of the fastener. And all we're gonna do is gonna go clockwise first, and then counterclockwise. And then we could let the ratchet do the rest. All we have to do is the motion with our hands, like so. And then the fastener is slowly going to come out. After you felt that there's no more resistance, you could go ahead actually and twist it out by hand. And that's it. That's basically the basics of it. Now we're going to go over a few rules on removing fasteners and then putting them back. Alright, say you encounter a fastener with some resistance. So to break them free, that's the rule. We're going to make sure the socket is secured to the head of the bolt. Instead of pressing down, it's not going to budge at first. And when you constantly press down like this, you're going to hurt your arm and your back. So what we want to do is give it a shot with our palm, like so. And you're going to see me do this throughout the course when we're going to try to loosen fasteners. The rule is, with your palm, you're going to hit the end of the ratchet to give it a good shot of torque to break it free. And that's going to ensure that we're not hurting our hand, our elbows, and our back when we constantly torque, try to break it free. You're going to see during the repairs I'm going to show you, this technique always works. One shot with your palm, and then you're going to break the fastener loose, and then after that you could remove it as usual. Alright, second rule is when we're putting back fasteners, we're going to always start them by hand. Make sure it grabs a few threads before you go in with your ratchet or your power tools. Because if you only grab one thread and then it's crooked, then you're going to cross thread it and then you're going to have a bad time. So cross threading is when it goes in crooked and then you're ripping the threads on the inside and the threads from the fastener, and then, well, now it's just a nightmare. The bolt is not going to hold as securely, and then when you remove it, there's too much damage to the component and the bolt, and then we're going to have to rethread everything, and it's just going to be a nightmare. So always, always, always start every fastener by hand, and then go in with your ratchet or the power tools that I'm going to show you after.